20 kilometres from Riverside is Renaissance Community, based on a 60-acre farm. In contrast to the highly organised structure of Tui and the interdependent emphasis at Riverside, Renaissance has a minimal structure and no membership system. Founded in 1979, it is generally described by outsiders as an anarchist community. The Renaissance Trust was created for the purpose of, quote, holding land as public land where the people of New Zealand will be free to visit, live and commune with each other and the land. Ben Zablocki's definition of anarchism describes the ideology of the founding group. That is, the belief that the individual is capable of regulating himself in the absence of any external authority, and the belief that there is no such thing as good authority, that authority, by definition, is subversive. The founding group were motivated by a desire to practice subsistence farming with an aim to be self-sufficient in food production, using draft horses in place of tractors, and people as labour to grow extensive field crops. Hadn't heard of melanoma back then. For the first 10 years, Renaissance thrived. The community fluctuated between 40 and 60 people at any one time, with a core group of around 25 adults. It also established an alternative primary school, which was based on A.S. Neill's philosophy of education and has only recently closed after 25 years. Renaissance has followed a well-documented path of open land communes. Zablocki referred to them initially experiencing, quote, an ephemeral but brief golden age, which was inspiring to experience. Over time, the idealistic founders of Renaissance became overwhelmed by opportunists and people with addiction and or mental health issues who were drawn to the unregulated environment. Unable to agree even on how to make a binding decision, let alone how to deal with the social problems they were assailed with, the core group became fragmented, factions formed, and finally, almost all of the original residents departed, many of them after 15, 20 years or more. The borderliners, as William Kephart labelled them, have effectively inherited the place. In 2009, Renaissance marked its 30th anniversary. It currently has a population of around 40 residents living in 12 houses and an assortment of house trucks and huts. Residents pay a rental to the trust to live in the houses. The majority have lived there for at least 15 years and are dependent on state welfare payments. There are pockets of activity, a few energetic people care for small areas. Currently, a communal garden involves 10 people and a herd of cattle are grazed, but generally the place is neglected and run down. An area called The Folly provides ablution facilities and a parking area for mobile homes. Pete, the sole remaining founding resident, said, "If you could think of one thing that epitomised this place, it was this notion that we had to be charitable, therefore we had to take in anybody. We now have people coming here who are second generation unemployed, unemployable. Lost souls, they end up here. Sometimes they're sent here by some agency or the police who say, 'Where are we going to bail you to?' And they've heard of Renaissance, so it's, 'Oh, we'll bail them there.'" This paper identifies two key areas that have profoundly influenced the culture of these communities. First, the implication of independence versus interdependence, and second, the ability of the core group to adapt and make changes to remain viable. An essential difference between Tui and Riverside is the economic and personal independence of Tui and the interdependence that Riverside has always nurtured. Tui is economically robust and continues to attract a steady stream of people interested in joining the community, many with financial assets, while Riverside has business ventures that are losing money, and is struggling to attract new members, particularly those with the ability to generate income for the community. Yet it has no trouble finding tenants to rent its empty houses. The option of living independently while enjoying the benefits of community life is seductive in both these communities. But a sense of dissatisfaction and unease has been expressed by those members who are trying to sustain the core values of each community and believe that those who are not interested in committing themselves to those principles should move on and make space for those who are. Sargison and Sargent identify change and adaptation to change as being essential elements of a vibrant community. TUI demonstrates this with their efficient approach to organisation and the ability to accommodate members' changing needs. However, most TUI members also admit that sanctioning the concept of extended community is a compromise and does not sit comfortably alongside the community's core principles of alternative values, shared resources and shared activities that are outlined in their objectives. It also, just winding up, it also enables those who are no longer interested in being part of the community to retain their membership and homes there indefinitely.
I probably am.
Riverside's emphasis on equality in all areas makes change a slow and difficult process. While the benefits of having tenants in the community are acknowledged, as well as being a source of income, most of them are young parents with children, the advantages of membership over tenancy are being increasingly questioned by those members who feel they make a considerable sacrifice to keep Riverside going. Renaissance remains locked in the ideology of its anarchistic beginnings, defending the freedom of the individual, often at the expense of the community. By being powerless to implement any controls and remaining undiscerning in its openness, Renaissance has inherited a high number of dysfunctional and ineffective people. While the potential remains for change, its unregulated structures suggest it will continue to attract people seeking refuge rather than those wanting to build community. So while all these communities appear likely to continue to exist into the foreseeable future, it would seem that they face considerable challenges in relation to tensions between those who would wish to protect their community's core ideologies and continue to foster interdependent relationships, and those who prefer a more independent relationship with their communities. How or even whether these tensions will be resolved is difficult to speculate about. But I leave the last word of Rob from Riverside, because I think he summarised the difficulty of talking about this well. He said, just like life, community is a process. It's not a thing, it's not an end product, it's a process. And that process is ever evolving and changing and losing something and gaining something. Thanks.